This annual motorcycle solo pilgrimage ride was focused on the eastern states of Arunachal, Nagaland, and Mizoram of the country, after having completed the other three directions. Before leaving Meerut, I had already obtained the inner line permits for Arunachal and Nagaland. I also chose this time hoping that with the puja festivities on, the rains would have receded and the high mountain passes of Arunachal would not be snowbound. But soon I entered Bihar, the rains continued, leaving me most of the time in rain wear. When I checked into a hotel at Bihar border town of Gopalganj, I was greeted by two bellboys speaking Bhojpuri, Bhayankar Bike and Kale Chashme Wala Hero. I smiled away. After I had crossed the village roads of Kesaria and Chakia, I was back on the NH27. At some point, strangely, a stranger chased me on his motorcycle for half a kilometer to pull me over for a selfie. For the second time in my life, I stood on the Kosi Mahasetu over the flooded Kosi River. Lately, the waters of the river had created havoc, overflowing its floodplains and destroying crops. It is also known as the Sorrow of Bihar. It flows through Tibet, Nepal, and into India and into the Ganga. It's heavily silted. Standing beside the bridge, I saw a river dolphin popping up several times, a rare sighting. I tried to get it on video, but it kept changing the position. These things are blind and therefore survive well in silted waters. I came away with a happy feeling. In the rain, I transitioned from East Bihar into West Bengal and through the Chicken Neck into Assam. The truckers, repair shacks, and chai stalls at the border looked frozen in time from my previous visit, only that they were numerous this time around. Assam is one of the largest northeast Indian states in the country. It has a large land area. It is lush green due to incessant rains. The mighty Brahmaputra flows through it. It is endowed with natural beauty and extensive biodiversity. It has large paddy and tea plantation areas. People speak Assamese, which is an Indo-Aryan language. The matriarchs are clad in traditional silk white saris known as the Makhela. While on a sore bum halt in a village, I saw this belle preparing steamed rice puffs in a very innovative way. She layered crushed rice with sugar and black barley seeds in a tea strainer and steamed it on the nozzle of a pressure cooker. Due to language aloofness, she couldn't name it for me. Mission Cherali, Tezpur, is the pivotal intersection for Assam and Arunachal towns. It was also the joint for KFC, Domino's, and Baskin Robbins. The intersection was all dug up and messy. Tezpur reminded me of my flying cousin and his stories of sorties and Assam teak. I made an early start for Tawang to beat the twists of the mountain climb, the rain, fog, and landslides to be in Jang by the evening. After Bomdila, I reached Baisakhi to a massive roadblock. A local bus had slid her around 50 feet down the mountain, and recovery efforts were on. I must have waited around 2 hours, and it was beginning to get dark at 4:30 p.m. And the most sensible thing to do was to retreat 6 kilometers downhill to Numu homestay at Sange before the scramble begins. The next morning, again I was stuck for another 2 hours before they got the bus on all fours. At Baisakhi, I got my first warning of road conditions in Mizoram from a Mangalorean from Maharashtra who had biked there 2 years back. I reached Sela top at around 12:30. The unscrupulous weather, the chill, the rain, the fog had taken the better part of me away. With winter gloves on, my fingers were chilling. Water seeped into the boots through the stitching and was soaking my feet. The helmet visor was fogging and I was riding blind. It was really atrocious. I had a presentiment that Tawang, 60 kilometers away, would be a paper hanger for me. It would be an impossible task to reach and then return to Senj before dark. So from Selatop, I went ahead to reach Jaswantgarh. Here a memorial has been created to honor the valor of rifleman Jaswant Singh Rawat of the 4th Battalion of the Garhwal Rifles. He killed about 300 Chinese soldiers alone in 3 days during the Nurang battle in the 1962 war with China. He was then beheaded by the Chinese army commander. Later, Jaswant and his CO were awarded the gallantry Mahavir Chakra. Even when I turned around from Jaswantgarh and was at the newly opened Sela tunnel, I saw a Maharashtrian boy on a Himalayan with sandals. Unpalatable sight. At these mountain heights of above 10,000 feet, I had developed a slight headache and my Apple Watch was constantly alarming me about my dropping blood oxygen level and heart rate. So I decided to roll down to Biswanath Cherali for a night halt before proceeding to Itanagar. Because of the presence of the military in the West Kamang area, the quadcopter refused to take flight, signaling a no-fly spot each time. There were many beautiful locations I wanted to capture, but it refused to fly there. So, it was for the first time on this trip that I got to get it into the air. Itanagar is the capital of Arunachal Pradesh. It is situated in the foothills of the Himalayas at an elevation of about 1400 feet. It has a very hot and humid climate. When I arrived in the city by mid-afternoon, I was drenched in sweat because of the high humidity. I checked into a hotel with a scenic view of the city and had beer. With an overcast sky, I rode about 100 kilometers to Old Zero, one of the oldest towns of Arunachal. Zero is known for the Apatani culture and the traditional rice and fish farms on a flat plateau mountain. But this cluster of villages of the Subansiri district is now a modern town with government administrative and revenue offices. On my return from Zero, I was stuck again in a passing shower. Fortunately, I had crossed the last mudslide en route before it. Otherwise, it could have been disastrous wading through ankle-deep slush. On moving from Arunachal to Nagaland, I crossed the bridge on the mighty Brahmaputra at Tezpur. It was massive and terrifying. Even its floodplains were inundated. Then came the jungles of Doboka, After Nagaon in Assam, the NH 29 to Dimapur was terrible. I knew then what was to come in the coming days for me in Nagaland. The Kachari ruins in Dimapur are an historical and architectural site predating to the 10th century. These mushroom shaped sandstone pillars belong to the Dimasa Kachari kingdom around the same time. But till date, none has been able to decipher the purpose of the monolith structures. Theorists claim them to be religious stones, burial stones, memorial stones, or commemorative sites. On a hot and humid day, I rode out looking for Daizefi Craft Village, popularly known for a household showroom manufacturing rural and eco-friendly woodcraft items. Initially, I got lost in the maze of villages and paddy fields. Even Google Maps could not help me locate it. Did find the village, but not the showroom. Language too was a barrier, and the locals too were unhelpful. But I did find migrants working on bamboo to produce mats necessary for housing purposes. Did find odd shops selling goat milk in plastic bottles alongside bamboo shoot milk, along with other local produce and fresh pork. On my roughest ride so far, I made my way to Kohima on the nastiest roads. Almost the entire National Highway 29 was littered with landslides. The diversions were even worse with steep, slippery climbs. At Kohima, the capital of Nagaland, I went to Garrison Hill to visit the war cemetery. Here on the tennis courts, one of the bloodiest battles of World War II took place in 1944. Allied forces rebutted the advance of the Japanese forces. There are 1,420 graves of Commonwealth soldiers, along with a memorial of 917 Hindu and Sikh soldiers. I was amazed to read the ages of the dead. I remembered my dad, who too was recruited at the age of 18 and spent time in Burma, Malaya, Indochina, Ceylon, etc. with the Tommies. He got discharged after an accident. He would narrate his stories with pride. Later, I was to visit Kisama Heritage Village, which opens every Saturday, but the access road was cut off due to landslides. Against strong advice and road closure updates, I abandoned my journey to Silchar and then to Aizawl in Mizoram and instead headed home after 2 weeks on the northeast ride. At Guwahati, I met an old schoolmate, classmate, and housemate after 51 years, retired Major General Dr. Kamal Pathak. As a brainy child, he had a brilliant career, shared drinks and a lovely dinner with his family, and savored the rare moments of life. On the morning at Muzaffarpur Hotel, I readied to move on, but got disbalanced and fell on the right side. Busted my left wrist after having ridden more than 6,000 kilometers. With pain and swelling, I still rode 270 kilometers to Gorakhpur to abandon the motorcycle. Got plastered by a local orthopedic and taxied the remaining 800 kilometers home in a cab.